Culturally responsive education requires educators and schools to support and celebrate all cultures, not just the dominant one. However, our current education system pushes students to conform to white standards, often whitewashing and censoring cultural expressions. Cultural expressions are the aesthetics that individuals choose to present in their physical appearance that showcases them as an individual and their cultural identity. For example, braids, weave-ins, saris, hijabs, bindis, piercings, hair dye, durags, and dreadlocks, to name a few. These physical traits students choose to wear to express themselves and their culture are often policed to the point that students are forced to conform to white standards that suppress their cultural expression. The following are headlines and clips from the news. These show the policing of cultural expression and the forced conformity in schools. They also show the lengths schools will go in order to suppress culture.
At this high school match, watched as a black wrestler cut off his dreadlocks. Now that's after he was given two options by the white referee: cut them or forfeit. Now that video has gone viral with nearly 15 million views. Many people were outraged over the ref's ultimatum, and they're demanding justice. Moments before his match, Andrew Johnson had a choice: cut his dreadlocks or forfeit. Johnson's hair length and headgear were against the rules, according to the referee. Johnson ended up winning his match, but lost his dreadlocks.
These are examples of censorship of culture as a means to continue institutionalized racism and forced conformity. In no way do dreadlocks, saris, braids, piercings, hair color, or any physical trait affect a student's ability to learn or participate in class, nor do they affect how students engage in athletics, participate in clubs, or that child's worth. By minimizing and policing cultures in schools, we continue to support the notion that physical appearances, like the color of one's skin, contribute to hierarchy, and that at the top of that hierarchy is white culture and white standards. This continues to affect students of color and takes away from their feeling of safety and representation in the classroom. This also takes away cultural experiences and celebration from those students. So why does this matter so much? Censorship in schools can also lead to a narrow worldview with holes in cultural and international education. If a child does not know from literary examples that African Americans were ever abused in our society, then how will those same children understand the implications of marches or rallies for black rights in modern society, or the struggle that people of color still go through to be treated as equals in our society? Additionally, our children, if restricted to an education that supports only their perspective, will have no frame of reference to understand other religions, other cultures, or other beliefs. Through this process of research, I have learned about the importance of cultural expressions to individuals. Now the challenge is to incorporate that into our practice as educators. In class, we have talked about different ways to support culture and diversity in the classroom. For example, understanding different vernaculars and patterns of speech that vary across cultures. In terms of literature, books, movies, and posters can all help to celebrate and incorporate culture in the classroom. However, to go further and bring in cultural expressions, educators can use members from the community or parents to come in and speak. We can also use art, music, and dance to further show cultural expression. This can be beneficial to building this frame of reference, showing representation, and exposing kids to new cultures. To further engage in literacy and cultural exposure, global pen pals are a great resource. For more physical expressions, acknowledge and compliment these traits. Notice when your students have gotten their hair done and make them feel good about it. Notice when your students have changed something about their appearance, maybe a new hair color, maybe a new piercing, maybe it's even a new pair of shoes. Bring this into the conversation so your students see that you notice these things and show that you care. This can really help build relationships. I personally like to combine physical and illustrative expression with art. I have my students draw themselves and I hang those pictures up around the classroom. For me as an educator, I have learned about the importance of expression of the individual and how to advocate for student expression. This means noticing inequities in school policies, looking for places to represent cultural aesthetics, and amending regulations to expression. Also working on creating a better classroom environment where students feel supported to express their culture without fear of retaliation from me as the educator or the school. The biggest takeaway I want you to get from this is how schools are set up to encourage conformity to white standards, and as educators, We need to move past the policing of culture to create a safe space for cultural expressions to be not only supported but celebrated in the classroom.